In the summer of 2017, my friend Lauren invited me to join her boyfriend Derek, and two of his friends for a weekend camping trip in Black Rock Forest near Cold Spring, New York. It had been a dry, warm season, and they thought it would be a fun getaway. But to me, I was beyond excited because it was my first real camping trip. The reason it was my first has roots buried deep in a memory I never knew I had. Years later, my mom told me the story with that tense bitterness only mothers have. Apparently, when I was 3, my dad took me with him to a barbecue in the country. While he and his college friends were busy grilling, I wandered off into the woods. They found me an hour later, screaming deep in the woods. Ever since then, my mom has had a quiet obsession with keeping me out of forests. No hikes, no summer camps, no camping trips, nothing involving trees. But by the time I hit my mid-20s, I was ready to break that rule. We headed out in late July. Lauren's rust-red Jeep rattled along back roads until we found a secluded spot off the beaten path with a view of the reservoir and forest curling around us like green waves. A few cabins were far off the main road, but it felt like we were completely alone. We spent the first day roasting hot dogs, drinking cheap beer, and laughing by the fire until the coals faded. I fell asleep that night to the sounds of frogs and crackling embers, thinking, this is what I've been missing. The next morning, Lauren and I decided to explore the other side of the highway. There was a dirt trail past a cluster of empty cabins. The woods were silent and heavy with summer heat and the buzz of insects. I had my compass clipped to my jeans, an old habit I didn't think much of. Lauren laughed. You're really leaning into the wilderness survival thing, huh? Hey, I said, smirking. If you're worried about the direction of your relationship, I'll worry about the direction of our hike. We both laughed. But 5 minutes later, the laughter died down. We stepped into a narrow clearing and I felt a chill run through me. I stopped walking. My limbs stiffened. The air felt wrong. It was as if the temperature had dropped 10 degrees. Lauren asked, "You okay?" I didn't answer. Not at first. My tongue felt heavy. When I finally spoke, I told her something I hadn't said out loud in over a decade. I used to have this dream, I whispered. It started when I was 12. It was always the same. I'd be walking through a shadowy forest with branches like twisted bones and no leaves, and the sky would be the color of ash. In the center stood a small stone hut with a black doorway that swallowed light. Then it would appear. A figure. The skin was like cracked bark, hair like fire. Its teeth were slick with blood. It never chased me. It never spoke. It just smiled and walked into the hut. But I always knew that eventually I would follow it in. Those dreams came every night for almost 2 years. My mom took me to a psychologist. My dad called it stress. But no one could explain why the fear felt so real. Then one day the nightmare stopped. Just like that. I moved on with my life. Until this trip. Until this trail. Everything here, the trees, the slope of the path, the smell in the air, matched the nightmare exactly. Exactly. Ever had a dream that felt like it was trying to tell you something important? Let me know in the comments, and if this is giving you chills, hit that like button. It's just getting started. We went back to camp. I didn't bring it up again. Maybe it was just a coincidence. Maybe my brain was just playing tricks on me. That night, Derek's friends got into a discussion about past lives and déjà vu. Lauren gave me a little tease about my woods trauma, and I played along. But inside there was still this nagging feeling. The next day we went hiking again. I felt better, more clear-headed. We packed snacks, took some pictures, and had a good laugh. I had to get up and go pee, so I split from the group for a bit. I walked about 50 yards until I felt alone. In the summer of 2018, my boyfriend Tyler, our friends Brooke and Jason, and I decided to spend a weekend camping in Mark Twain National Forest near Salem, Missouri. We were looking for a place to get away from it all, somewhere quiet, off the grid, where we could tune out all the notifications and work stuff. Just 4 friends, a cooler full of beer, and a forest trail that stretched for miles. The weather was perfect. The air smelled like sun-warmed pine. The birds were singing from the treetops like something out of a nature documentary. We hiked for hours, took some silly pictures, and ended up stumbling across what looked like an abandoned campground, old stone fire pits, rotting picnic benches, and patches of moss-covered concrete. It looked like it had been forgotten. But it also looked perfect. We set up our tents in the overgrown clearing and built a fire with some fallen branches. The woods felt so still that it was like the trees were holding their breath. That night, we sat around the fire, music playing on a Bluetooth speaker, passing drinks, telling dumb stories. At some point, Brooke got up and danced barefoot in the dirt, laughing. Tyler pulled me into a slow, swaying hug. For the first time in months, I felt calm. That didn't last long. I don't remember falling asleep. I remember waking up to smoke. Heavy. It's pretty thick. It burned my throat before I could even open my eyes. Tyler sat up straight. Something's wrong. I unzipped the tent and almost immediately started to feel the cold. The forest was on fire. It's not just a spreading campfire. The flames were moving through the trees like a living thing, orange and roaring, swallowing trunks and licking up the sky. Smoke poured into our clearing like floodwater. Ever woken up to something so wrong it felt like a nightmare? Let us know in the comments if this has your heart racing, and subscribe if you love dark stories that don't play nice. We were screaming for Jason and Brooke. They came out of their tent, coughing and looking pretty scared. "Grab what you can," Tyler shouted. "There's no time for gear." I grabbed my phone and shoes. Jason had a flashlight. That was it. 3 sides were already engulfed. There was just one way out, a dark part of the forest behind us that hadn't caught on fire yet. We ran. You could hear twigs cracking underfoot. The embers were swirling in the air like angry fireflies. My legs were shaking. My eyes burned. Every breath felt like sandpaper scraping down my throat. Brooke fell behind, gasping. Jason grabbed her arm. I could hear Tyler behind me shouting, "Go! Just go!" We didn't have a destination in mind, just a general idea of where we wanted to go. But the forest wouldn't let us go that easily. Because when we broke through a thick patch of branches, we weren't alone. Figures emerged from the shadows. 6 of them. Everyone's wearing masks, cloth sacks with painted, cartoonish faces, black ringed eyes, red slashes for mouths. Each one had something, bats, chains, belts, and they were waiting for us. My stomach dropped. "This has to be a joke," Jason said. Then the first masked figure lunged and swung. A metal chain cracked against Tyler's side. He dropped to one knee, breathing heavily. Brooke screamed. Then they came down. One of them grabbed my hair and yanked me to the ground. I felt something hit my ribs, a sharp pain that spread like fireworks behind my eyes. I curled up and cried, "Please, please." Another hit to my back. It's a scream. Chains whipping air. Brooke's voice cracking with emotion. Jason shouted her name, then something silenced him. But what really scared me was the beating. It was what they were saying. "You picked the wrong trail. We're not fans of outsiders. We burn what doesn't belong." Their voices were high and sing-song, like children mocking a nursery rhyme. One of them leaned in and whispered, "We made the fire just for you." If this sounds like something straight out of a horror movie, well, it kind of did. Stay tuned, what happens next changes everything. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit that bell icon. You'll definitely want to hear how this ends. Then all of a sudden they just stopped. I was shaking, bleeding, and my ears were ringing. My face was wet, blood or tears I couldn't tell. The masked people backed into the trees, blending right in. The fire? It was still there in the distance, but it wasn't coming after us anymore. It was like it had done its job. We ended up sitting there in the dirt, totally wrecked. Brooke was barely conscious. Jason was bleeding from the head. Tyler's shirt was scorched and torn. We couldn't say a word to each other. Just breathe. Just survive. Eventually, Jason helped Brooke up. We walked, or should I say stumbled, until we hit a back road. Tyler flagged down a truck. The driver gave us a look and drove us to the hospital without saying a word. The cops were called. They searched. They found burn marks, boot prints, and signs of a camp, but they didn't have any suspects. No masks, please. No weapons. Nothing. It was like the attackers never even existed. Only our bruises and broken bones proved otherwise. Later, lying in a hospital bed, I couldn't stop thinking about how quiet that old campground had been. It's too quiet. It's almost as if the forest had an inkling of what was to come. Some places don't want to be found. And some people only come out when the fire starts. Do you think it was random, or were they watching us the whole time? Back in September of 2021, I went camping with my boyfriend Ethan and our friends Maya and Chris. We went deep into the Allegheny National Forest in Pennsylvania. We were all from Pittsburgh, city kids who just needed a break. We picked a trail online, packed light, and hit the road early on a Friday. The weather was unbelievable, cool mornings, golden afternoons, not a cloud in sight. By the time we got to the trailhead, all we could hear was birds, wind, and the sound of our footsteps crunching through the leaves. It felt like we had the whole forest to ourselves. We hiked for a few hours, told some jokes, and took some pictures. Maya found this old, abandoned site. Maybe it was a trailer park at one point. Fire pits covered in moss, a couple of rusted poles. It felt haunted in the best way. "Let's stick around," Ethan said, dropping his backpack. We set up our tents, built a fire, and ate dinner as the sun went down. The forest was silent, and it made you whisper without even thinking about it. That night we stayed up late, passing a flask and swapping stories. And then, sometime after midnight, I woke up. At first I thought it was a dream. But then I heard it. Crunch. Leaves. "Hey, just wanted to let you know that I've got some twigs on hand." Footsteps. Right outside our tent. Have you ever heard something outside your tent at night and just knew it wasn't an animal? Leave a comment, and if you're into creepy true stories, hit that subscribe button. What's coming next is going to be worse. I held my breath. Another step. Closer. I reached for Ethan and whispered, "Someone's out there." He sat up, eyes wide. "What?" Then we heard it again, that slow, deliberate sound of someone pacing just feet from where we lay. We waited. Silence. Then the zipper of Maya and Chris's tent. I unzipped ours just a bit, taking a peek. There was nobody there. Maya's head popped out. "You heard it too?" I nodded. We waited another 10 minutes, clutching flashlights, hearts pounding. Nothing. Eventually we managed to fall back asleep. The next morning we all just laughed it off. "Probably a deer," Chris said. But I knew that wasn't how deer walked. We went for another hike and had a great day. The fear went away. That night the forest felt different. It's almost as if it's holding something back. We went to bed early. I curled up next to Ethan and tried to block out the creeping fear. That was the night everything blew up. I woke up to the sound of crackling. Not twigs. Not footsteps. Flames. I unzipped the tent, and the sky was glowing orange. Smoke rolled low like fog. The clearing around us was starting to burn. Grass, dry bark, some poor sap's forgotten stash of firewood, up in flames. I shouted, "Fire!" Ethan and I hurried out barefoot. Maya and Chris came tumbling out of their tent. "The whole ridge is burning," Chris shouted. We grabbed whatever we could, phones, flashlights, and bolted into the woods, barefoot, coughing, smoke in our eyes. We thought we were getting away. But the fire wasn't chasing us. We were being herded. Picture this. You're on the run from a fire, only to bump into something even worse. Stay tuned. What happens next is going to blow your mind. And don't forget to like and share if you're feeling it. We broke through a thicket and stopped cold. In the clearing ahead, 5 figures were waiting. They wore cloth masks with strange, childlike patterns. Circles for eyes. Toothy grins. The kind of thing kids would draw, if those kids grew up in hell. Each one had something different. Sticks, metal rods, ropes. They didn't say a word. They just moved. "Let's do this." One of them tackled Ethan. Another grabbed Maya by the hair. I tried to run, but someone pulled me back. I hit the ground hard. I was knocked out of the air. They didn't say a word. They just started hitting. Hard. It's fast. They were precise, as if they had done this before. The person above me whispered something I'll always remember. "You brought fire. We bring balance." Another guy leaned in close to Chris, blood dripping from a torn mask. "No outsiders. Not here." It wasn't random. It wasn't rage. It was a kind of ritual. We were right there with them. We all took some hits, bruises, cuts, you name it. One of them smacked my knee so hard I couldn't stand. Ethan had blood running down his back. Chris was crying because he had a broken nose and a shoulder dislocation. Then as quickly as they came on, they were gone. They ran. It just melted back into the woods like smoke. And just like that, the fire stopped spreading. We wandered around for hours, almost blind, exhausted, and silent. Eventually, we hit a service road. A park ranger picked us up. He drove us to the clinic. The cops questioned us. They searched the site. No footprints. No masks, please. There's no sign of other people. They said it was probably just a hallucination from the smoke and stress. But we knew better. We saw the scars. We experienced it firsthand. No one else believes us. I think they were waiting for us. I'm watching. Maybe they still are. Some forests don't just grow trees. They grow secrets. What if the fire wasn't the threat, but the signal? Let me know in the comments. Was it a cult? A trap? Or something older than either? Subscribe to the channel and click the card on screen to hear the next story. It goes even deeper into the dark.